Hey guys, this is Krosky bringing you some spur-of-the-moment Crazyhouse action. We have xuanet with black pieces playing against Yasser Seirawan. I know it's been a while since I've recorded or streamed any Crazyhouse content, but I saw this match going on and I thought I'd record a bit of it. Tuning in here in the second game of a new series, xuanet took the first. And let's see what's going on here. xuanet played an interesting opening with knight f6 and b5 in response to Yasser's customary d4. Yasser continued to build a big center. xuanet is attacking from the flanks. And here we are in the middle game, move 12, rook e1. I like Yasser's position. xuanet does have some bishops staring down at Yasser's king side here, but this bishop is blunted for the moment by his own pawn. Bishop g4 is nice, forking these two pieces. Both are defended, but it's a nice square for that bishop nonetheless. We have a trade on d6. And I'm attacking the rook on f8. Let me just make sure everything's up and running. Got my mic working. Alright, good. It's been a while since I've done this, so trying to get back in the swing of things. So if xuanet tries to go back to protect the rook with his queen, he's going to be struck by pawn at e7, winning the rook clean and probably the game easily. So xuanet realizes he's going to have to sack that queen and trying to establish a light square presence, but I think Seirawan stands much better in this position. However, xuanet has managed to remove this pawn from the d4 square, meaning that he's going to be able to open up this bishop, which will become a powerful piece. But he's pretty weak along the back rank, and he is down the queen for a piece. xuanet developing post-haste, dropping another rook in order to get his pieces out, but yeah, he's going to be too weak along the back rank, I imagine. He has no rook to drop along the back rank and kind of perpetuate this cycle, so he's just going to drop f8 and get mated, I think. He doesn't have any bishop drops that could be taken. Blocks off the e-file, but this must be very dangerous. We have the capture on f8, and now I'm going to capture on e4 a few times, bring the queen in, or maybe drop something on h8. Yasser Seirawan sees no need for radical action and just calmly moves his knight to the h4 square, attacking this bishop and activating the knight. Okay. Something's going to appear on the back rank eventually. xuanet has no immediate threats. On white's king side, Yasser remains ultra safe for now. Huh. That's interesting. He's opting just to place some pieces on the board calmly, as opposed to attacking immediately with rook at h8, which is what I was advocating. Alright, so now that you've played a few passive-ish moves, how do you make progress here if you're Yasser? xuanet for the moment has all these squares covered with his pieces. h8 is the only square you can access the back rank from, and I think you gotta play something there eventually, right? This bishop covers knight drops. So the question here is whether Yasser will continue playing solid, but not terribly aggressive moves, or whether he'll pull the trigger here eventually and maybe something like bishop at d6 or rook at h8. So he opts for the former of those two options, replacing a knight on g3, attacking that bishop. xuanet will probably just, cover that bishop with a bishop at h7 or d7. Bishop at g4 is possible, replenishing and renewing the attack on f5 and saying I'm okay with the trade and activating the queen. Yasser is going for a4. That's not a move that would have occurred to me. I would be wanting to get one of these pieces on the board he has in his pocket. a4 strikes me as, it's a fine move, but it seems unnecessary to me. He's just kind of lacking a plan right now. I guess if a rook appears on h8 right now, that's not going to lead anywhere, because he can block. But it's better than nothing. Maybe you want to take here, yeah. Try to get your queen in the game. And it's okay if you sack like queen at d8, knight takes, queen takes, then you have rook here and pawn drops here, stuff like that. Like queen here, I was going to say queen at here, or rook here first, was going to be mating, I thought. Maybe you didn't have to take that. Maybe you could block there and keep the knight on that square. But anyway, Yasser's going for pawn at d6, trying to control the square with the pawn instead of the queen. Okay, so now finally rook appears on h8. Yasser is down on time, but I think he should be able to win this game. Oh, that's curious. He's still looking for queen d8, I think. I really do think he could have played that a few moves earlier, queen at d8, instead of trying to get this pawn on. But now this is mating anyway. Knight takes, takes. The knight still covers this square, so he's trying to takes, takes, queen takes, and rook at. Okay, you could just take here, take, and replace a queen or a rook here on d8, and that would be mate. But this should be enough to mate as well, just less forcing, I suppose. Legion Destroyer points out that queen takes e8 was mating in 2. But there's not much you can do to defend that. Yeah, he sees it now, obviously. He's not going to let that pass up a second time. Okay, so Yasser Seirawan wins up the match. One game apiece. Going for the Alyakin's defense, and now we have 4 knights, and the usual e4, e5 system. Interesting. So Yasser is playing e4, e5 nowadays, it seems. Okay, castles, you can take here and grab this pawn if you want. xuanet piling up some bishops along this long diagonal. That's going to be kind of perpetual pressure. Yasser Seirawan reinforcing e6 knight. xuanet captures that anyway. So does he want to capture? He does. Okay, so he's going to replace a bishop on this diagonal, imagine, or use the f5 square, but eventually a bishop will appear on one of these diagonals. First, he scoops up the c5 pawn, which was hanging after that transaction of trades there. Okay, so he's hitting the rook. That's not super important to defend. I think more important is to try to solidify your light squares. Maybe bishop at g4. Yasser goes for bishop at h5 instead. Okay, so you're on this pawn. And that square is still free for bishop if you want to play bishop here someday. So, the question is, do you move the queen? He does. Back to e8, still pretty solid on the light squares. Bishop takes is possible. Probably good. Maybe not necessary. I mean, he can leave it there for a while. There's no way you can really save that unless you play bishop at e7. But there must be something more incisive and more pressurizing. xuanet goes for pawn at g5. Okay, so activating the knight. If takes, what's his idea here? Pawn here, king there. I don't see a mate. It's dangerous to be sure, but I think you might be able to get away with taking that queen. So takes. Now he's going to take the rook. Okay. The knight does cover the square for now, but it's dangerous. So takes, rook here, knight takes, queen takes. Okay, so it just recaptures on d1. So we didn't have an immediate mate or anything, but there is going to be lasting pressure. Okay, that's a nice move. Activating the queen, putting it on the board where it's useful as a defender of the king side, and just controlling a lot of territory. So maybe he's going to try to sack on f7 and say your light squares are very weak. If takes here, queen's going to take. So he has 2 defenders of this square. Something like takes, knight here, takes. I don't see that leading anywhere. xuanet opts to cover this knight. After pawn on, looks like he pre-moved rook at h4. Okay, so takes. And then this queen is dropping for rook, which isn't the end of the world. And xuanet has all the pressure here. I think white's going to be just easier to play. I'm not sure actually who has the advantage in this position, but white is easier to play. Takes that knight, that's interesting. I guess he was worried about f7 sack still. Because this pawn is important, covering, he wants to remain safe in the light squares. Or as safe as possible, cover this g6 square. Alright, blocking off that rook. If that's taken, there aren't any tricks on g7 that I see. He is attacking the knight. So do you want to pull the trigger on the f7 sack, which I don't see leading to much. You will control the light squares, but black will remain solid on the dark squares. What is this about? So if takes, is there some queen at g8 tricks, opening up this after the capture, or... Alright, so what's wrong with taking? Let's look at this. Takes, queen on, takes, king takes. What? Yeah, he goes for it. I didn't see a mate. So did xuanet just miss it that his piece was hanging, or what's his follow-up? I think Yasser might be defending this. He goes for queen at g8. Let's see where this leads. He did have a bishop here, but he's going to take on f7. If he did play bishop h7, king h8, you have a discovery, but then you can just block. Maybe there's a knight drop takes. That wouldn't have led anywhere. So now after queen takes, it is a little bit more scary. So if bishop here, he's probably just going to move king f8. Now that he's vacated the f8 square with his queen. Okay, so pawn on. Now you kind of have to go here, so you can't promote, but knight comes on. You have to take that. Okay, so this is interesting. Do you... I think, yeah, you can just take that rook. So queen on, takes, and you don't have enough to mate. You don't have another pawn. So I think black's going to walk away with a win here. If he can continue to play a few precise moves and just make sure he doesn't collapse on the g7 square in particular, or drop anything on the back rank. But I think he's safer now. Yeah, now he's going to take here. You can't take that. So now you just want to put your pocket pieces on, like knights on these squares. Maybe I think starting with a knight at h6 or f6 is a good start. Or here even. Okay, so he's just going to play a safe move. He's just kind of guarding a lot of the tender squares in his position, making sure he doesn't fall for any tricks later in the game. But yeah, that's a very solid move. Black is super safe here. You can take that, I think. Or you can just solidify with like a bishop at f8, but I think you can just take that. Queen here is another very safe move. I've noticed from Yasser that even in positions where he could play, he could win material or play a more aggressive move or anything, he opts for something that's a very, very solid move instead. A very solid player. Queen at f8 is very conservative there. I don't think it was necessary, but it's solid, so he's not going to get mated anytime soon. Or ever, really. Just take here. Could have played knight at f2 or something, but he opts for the ultra-conservative approach again and walks away with the victory. Okay, so 2-1 Yasser. They're gonna keep playing, or looks like Yasser might have logged off. Well, that's a shame. I was looking forward to a longer series there. Doesn't look like we have any other really high Crazyhouse games going on right now, so yeah, if these players don't log back in anytime soon, I'm probably going to cut off the recording right here. And I think I'll do just that. So maybe back later with some more Crazyhouse action, but for now, signing off.